A very good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to viewers wherever you are. I'm C. Paul Singh, former IG Punjab and ex-chief of Rapid Action Force, Government of India. I am with you today as the president of NISSMAT, a think tank organization which conducts discussions and deliberations with scholars and renowned social and political personalities. Also with ex-defense services, ex-bureaucrats. Its interactive sessions, webinars, and podcasts have become very popular. Today, I have with me to go into a dialogue on the subject of today's discussion. He is Major General Deepak Mehta, retired, who is of third generation officers in the army, a postgraduate in defense studies from Madras University. He has been in active operations in J&K, both in counterinsurgency areas and along the line of control. He commanded an infantry brigade during Operation Parakrama and Mountain Dev subsequently. Before starting the podcast on the subject, as you know, is instability in Nepal and its implications for India. Let me give a brief about the subject as such. Nepal's geography makes this country as a natural buffer between India and China. Any instability in Nepal weakens this border role, and the long open border between Nepal and India, extending to about 1,750 kilometers, becomes difficult to monitor. Political weaknesses in Nepal allows also the misuse of this border by smugglers and criminals. Anti-Indian elements at that point of time when the border is porous exploit the boundary for their infiltration into India. This creates law and order challenges for the states like Bihar, UP, West Bengal, which are very close to the border of Nepal. Further, the instability in Nepal allows China to deepen its footprints in Nepal. And Chinese presence in Nepal could, as you know, threaten India's security in the north. China can also use Nepalese territory for collecting intelligence on India. It can also mount indirect surveillance on India at any time if it has footprints and if it has stronghold in Nepal. This is of great strategic importance to us. Major Deepak will elaborate further to give the viewers the historical perspective.
Thank you very much. You see, India and Nepal have had a special relationship defined by the treaty which was signed in 1950. It is a treaty of peace and friendship. Basically two factors were there. Firstly was cultural and civilizational ties. Secondly, open border, facilitating movement of people as also the trade and goods. We have had very good cooperation with Nepal in the past. In the trade and investment, firstly was trade and investment. India is the largest trading partner of Nepal. Actually, if you go to Nepal, anywhere in Nepal, all the shops have Indian stuff. You can't make out if you're in any shop in India or in Nepal. The hoardings on the shops are all Devanagari script. So the language is also quite common. Then we have had a very close relationship in the field of energy and power. We are importing power from Nepal. Besides that, we've had very close interaction, people-to-people interaction with Nepal. There are a large number of Nepalese who are working in India. There are very large number of Nepalese who are part of the Indian Army. And as far as this relationship goes, the chiefs of both Indian and Nepal Army are given honorary rank of a general in their respective armies. I have been interacting with the Gurkha troops in the past. Bulk of them are second generation officers, second generation. With this Agnipath having come, Nepal has stopped sending any Gurkhas into India, which I think is going to affect, though we are still maintaining the PPO, that's a pension paying organization, to pay pension to the old ex-servicemen of Nepalese who are part of the Indian Army. Sir, as far as the borders are concerned, firstly, the border is not demarcated. The only border pillars, but there's no demarcation per se. Smuggling, yes, I agree with you, sir. Smuggling is only of items which are of critical nature and which are short supply in Nepal. But if you're traveling from Guwahati by any train, you find trade is going on full pelt. People in the trains are selling wares which they procure from Nepal. So trade is going on between India and Nepal as it was in the past.
1 minute. This instability now, as it has resulted, I think it also leads to a lot of migration problems. Thousands of Nepalese citizens who want to seek job in India during domestic crisis, they tend to enter into India. And
Yes, exactly.
another factor which is very important, General, is that I feel, and I have talked to some people, the young Nepalese nowadays are being swayed by anti-Indian rhetoric during turmoil in particular, when Nepal was in particular. Then this young Nepalese Indian, they were being swayed by anti-Indian rhetoric. So for India's foreign policy, for diplomacy, this instability in Nepal is indeed a very complicated issue. And India must view, I feel, General, they must view the stability in Nepal not just as a neighborly concern, but as a strategic necessity. Not only as a neighbor concern, but as a strategic necessity for its own security and growth. Please carry on.
I'm with you, sir. Absolutely correct. Now, I just want to bring up one or two more points as far as the open borders are concerned. Earlier, there was never a problem. But now, it has an effect on the criminals. There have been large number of cases where the criminals on our side of the border, they carry out an act and try to get into Nepal. There's a large number of cases which have happened. And also, there's infiltration. Just about, I think, a month or two back, 3 Pakistanis, because we have a very strong defense along the line of control and also international border. The infiltration from Pakistan, the state-sponsored infiltration, has come down quite a bit. But now they are finding different routes, maybe from Bangladesh. 3 chaps have been caught coming from Nepal into India. So this border is a problem. And what you say is right. It's a difficult aspect to control.
I agree. Its territory becomes not only prone to misuse by smugglers, as you rightly mentioned, traffickers, and even anti-Indian elements to some extent. Now, as you recollect, the extremist groups can exploit Nepal's soil as a safe haven for their state.
Absolutely, sir.
We must remember, sir, that the most insurgency in Nepal once had very strong linkages with the left-wing extremists inside India.
That's right.
Instability of this nature can cause and again revive this cross-border extremists. Now, this extremist network, cross-border extremism, it becomes difficult for us to have a strict control on that. This means that directly it impacts Indian states, as I showed you, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, and to some extent Sikkim. But the main land of India also becomes prone to these anti-extremist elements, who, particularly the young Nepalese, who have been swayed against somehow India. Therefore, border management is not only a necessity, I think it is very, very important strategic requirement. It is not confined to Kathmandu. In fact, this problem is not only confined to Kathmandu. The echoes can be heard in the villages and towns of our border state and India. Please continue.
I agree with you, sir. Now, add to one more. What you brought out is instability in China. And you see, this Madeshis who are in the plain areas of Nepal, which are bordering UP, Bihar, they have a very close linkage with the people towards our side. And they can be, our tribes can be exploited for nefarious activities if a check is not kept on them. So you are very right on that score.
No, and prolonged instability. This problem increases. Prolonged instability in Nepal increases the problem which we have referred, that is migration, smugglers, anti-Indian propaganda. This increases rapidly. This creates pressures in Indian border towns, and another important factor is that this increases the competition for low-skilled jobs inside India. This is sometimes, this at times, the rivalry of jobs, low-skilled jobs, creates sometimes and fuels social tensions inside India. Perhaps
Exactly.
the most critical implication, of course, lies in this strategic sphere, but other factors which we have mentioned, like smugglers, inflow of extremists, low-skilled jobs competitions, they are also creating social tensions in India. Now, as far as the strategic challenges are concerned, would you like to elaborate further, sir?
Yes, sir. As far as the strategic challenges are concerned, firstly, there is no demarcation in the border, which has led to border disputes in two areas. Firstly is the Lipur Lake area and Susta area. Now they have changed the map, which is actually incorrect. Though the diplomatic aspects are going on between India and Nepal, we say that Lipur Lake area is in our area. They have changed the map. So this is the first major implication of the instability. As you brought out, it could lead to discontent in the neighboring states, that is UP, Bihar, and second strategic challenge is that China's influence, because the political reasons, political aspects of Nepal have increased tremendously in the field of economics and political engagements. China, you have brought out, they have shown a lot of interest in the past towards Eastern Nepal. Now, Eastern Nepal is the one which is very close to the Siliguri corridor.
Mm-hmm.
They were going in for construction of roads in Eastern Nepal. Now, if you see the dynamics of that area, Siliguri corridor is only 22 kilometers from the eastern border of Nepal. Chumbi Valley is very close to the Siliguri corridor.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
The Chinese are reconstructing or rejuvenating an airfield just south of Siliguri corridor. So this is a very major aspect in terms of a strategic challenge. And
Carry on, please. Carry. Sorry. Carry. You want me to say a few words? China has already invested heavily in Nepal, as you know. A lot of infrastructure, roads, railways, telecommunication have already been set up by China in Nepal. Whenever Nepal is politically unstable, the leaders of Nepal tend to play the India card versus the China card to create sort of problem. They always play on this card, India card, and then versus China card. China is doing this thing, and India is doing this thing. So this all comes in there, sort of creating more problem for India in due course of time. So not only this is, of course, it is dangerous as far as the strategic importance of this is concerned. The implications of unrest in Nepal and the strategic importance of the Nepal border with India, it is a very important issue to be considered by our diplomats. But China has already invested in Nepal, and it is trying to create further footsteps. You will elaborate further how the instability in Nepal has weakened its role as a buffer state, and how do you intend to monitor the long Indo-Nepal border, keeping in view the porous border as well as the Chinese footprints in Nepal?
Sir, because I feel that all this has happened because of the political changes which have taken place in Nepal. The political ideology of the parties there was pro-China. One party, the Nepal Congress, has been put into the into the freezer. So the political parties there, which are coming to power, I don't want to name the leaders, they were pro-China in their ideology. Now you see, as far as infrastructure is concerned, the Chinese are planning to construct a railway line coming into Nepal, which has a very major effect in terms of you were brought out in terms of intelligence. They are going to flood the complete market of Nepal with the Chinese goods.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, with the new government coming up next year, hopefully we should be able to stabilize this affair. So. Now they would also, sir, the political parties which were there earlier, when you were correctly brought out, they were playing the India-China card. This had caused a lot of distrust between India and Nepal. Nepal felt that time that we are interfering in their domestic affairs, which is not so. As a matter of fact, 2015-16, there was we had a blockade in support of Mehdi's. So that these are things which exacerbated the problems with Nepal. Hopefully, with the new government coming in, things will stabilize. Sir.
No, as you have very explicitly indicated, the stability in Nepal is very essential for India's strategic comfort, at least. Besides,
Absolutely.
such instability also strengthens external powers who are unfriendly to India. Certain external powers who are unfriendly to India, they also get a leeway. Cultural and religious ties also get strained during this. The cultural ties which we have in Nepal, and religious ties which we have in Nepal, and the religious tourism which has been going on between India and Nepal, this also gets heavily strained during the instability. Now, as I mentioned earlier, some propaganda has been portraying India as interfering in Nepalese politics.
Sir.
That is another thing. The young Nepalese, particularly, they are swayed by this anti-Indian rhetoric. During turmoil, they say the propaganda has been there that India is interfering in Nepalese border. So hence, instability also undermines the soft power links between the two countries. Therefore, our policy has to be we have to be very careful. Neither we have to allow extra interference in Nepal, nor we can stay away absolutely what is happening in Nepal. Therefore, you may like to elaborate as to how we should go about further as far as India is concerned, so that even if there is instability, our relations do not deteriorate to the extent that it will be difficult to have back to our neighborly relations with Nepal.
Sir, I feel that this aspect of Agnipath, which came into being, this has to find a revision. We have to get these boys from Nepal back into our Gurkha. They were a big support
Yes.
in Nepal. Our PPO, the Pension Paying Authority, had been interacting with these very large number of veterans in Nepal. So I think there's a requirement of look into this aspect of Agnipath, which I think the government is looking into. Second aspect is that we have to be very careful so that the cultural and religious ties do not get affected. Well, a large number of people make a visit to Nepal for the Pashupatinath temple, and they come to the Buddhist temples here. So we have to be very, very careful and tread a very careful path, as you were brought out diplomatically in the field of trade, and get back to the trust factor between Nepal and India.
Right. That for security, economy, culture, and diplomacy, Nepal's instability is obviously having multi-dimensional challenges as far as India is concerned. But at the same time, India, though, cannot remain passive about political developments in Nepal.
Correct.
It also should not have excessive interference to create resentment in Nepalese that we are trying to interfere with the affair.
Absolutely right, sir.
The balance between sport and non-infiltration and interference into their affairs is a very delicate balance, and we have to maintain it up in a very nice and a diplomatic manner. You can elaborate further, sir.
There has to be more people-to-people contact, and have to be very careful now with this Gen Z, which is coming to be, which came into Bangladesh, which is now coming into Nepal. It should not come into India. And all this, what is happened in Bangladesh or Nepal. It is, of course, in Nepal, they say lack of employment, corruption, what have you. But definitely it has been exacerbated by someone else outside. We have to be very careful. Our intelligence agencies have to be very careful on that factor.
I'd like to touch another point, which also you may like to elaborate. Now, Nepal has been the basis for SAARC and other regional alignments, or SAARC in particular, and other alignment also. How do you view that? Because this is getting, when this problem can upset the apple cart of these regional balances, and because Nepal is the headquarter of SAARC indirectly,
Yes,
and Mismatic also, they have got deep inroads, or the secretariat depends on in Kathmandu and all. Could you elaborate on SAARC and Mismatic, that how its instability in Nepal can widely affect these, broadly affect these regional balances, and how it indirectly can affect India also?
Sure. You see, sir, as far as SAARC is concerned, there are 8 members. They have to be working on consensus. As you mentioned, the headquarters of SAARC is in Kathmandu, which is right now with the interim government. Now, if they are working in consensus, there are two nations with their interim governance: Nepal and Bangladesh, which is also a member of uh, SARC.
Ah,
Now, will the secretariat of SARC function? If so, with these interim governments both in these countries, would they be able to take any decisions as interim government? So that is a question mark. So it is coming out that it's not a very stable organization right now. And once the governments of both Nepal and Bangladesh come into being, then has to be seen how best uh, this organization will function, sir. I don't think any worthwhile decisions are going to be taken because the two governments which are member of SARC will not be able to take any decisions in the interest of the nation.
And what about mismatch? What about the other organization, regional organization, BISMAT?
Bismuth again, sir, is a group of 8 countries which are around India. It had a very good sort of a understanding. It was trade, defense, uh, communication between these countries. But again, this has diversified because the communication with Nepal is just, we are working on a communication going right through Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, up to Vietnam. With the change in regime in Bangladesh, this connectivity is not there anymore. So, as far as trade is concerned, there's some trade which is going on. Tourism is some tourism will carry on with Nepal. Tourism, in my opinion, with Bangladesh will come down. There's by and large no tourism in Myanmar. So these are the effects of both ASEAN and BISTEC. So hopefully time will, will set the things right, sir.
I mean, to briefly sum up our discussion, I like to start that since the abolition of monarchy in 2008, Nepal has witnessed frequent changes in government, as you know.
Absolutely.
Coalition politics, then party splits, then rivalries in Nepal have created a very fragile sort of situation and administration in Nepal.
Correct.
This constant instability, sir, hampers not only developments in Nepal, it also allows some of the external powers to gain grounds in Nepal. Of course, China has been already trying to have grounds in Nepal. The tourism sector, which is of mutual interest, both that is for India as well as Nepal, suffers badly during this turmoil due to this fragile situation prevailing in Nepal. As you mentioned just now, India-Nepal religious tourism, which is necessary for both the countries, suffers when relations are tense and strained. Thus, there are serious implications. There are serious ramifications due to this instability in Nepal. The member countries of SARC, as you said, Afghanistan, of course, joined in 2007, but Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. This also have sort of after effects or certain tremors here there. Headquarters being in Kathmandu, the functioning becomes a little difficult for the SARC countries. Of course, for quite some time, SARC has been a little incumbent stage. It was also in the incumbency, but it was very active. The first SAARC summit in Dhaka, Bangladesh, it has created a lot of primary objectives for itself, that is to promote regional cooperation and to promote peace, to promote economic growth, to promote economic and collective self-sufficiency. All these countries will have a direct or indirect influence due to this state of fluency, a state of imbalance and sort of, fluctuation in Nepal. Then the youth-led protests, as you said, General-led protests over social media, that has created a lot of problem. Corruption, nepotism also created problem, and have faced resignations from government to government, and reshuffling of the government. These institutional functionality of SAARC and NISSMAT, they will also get affected because of this instability.
Absolutely, sir.
The decision-making sort of, or consensus which is likely to emerge if SAARC functions from Kathmandu is likely to be badly affected. It may lack also the authority or lack the internal cohesion which earlier was there to commit on some regional agreements which we are already undertaken in SAARC. So by and large, it will affect largely these regional balances, the regional treaties which we had. Now, the open border, the porous border, especially with India, with a weak government in Nepal and unrest in Nepal, could lead to increased cross-border trafficking and spillovers of refugees and other people in India. A possible scenario and outcome could be that in such a sort of instability, not only the Indo-Nepal relations get affected, but certain regional treaties where Nepal's stability is important also get affected. You have already touched on the BIMSTEC, that a Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation. It will get affected because ultimately, again, the countries involved are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Sri Lanka and Thailand. Again, these key countries which are there, they're key sectors, and land, ports, etc. They are so intertwined, they're so close to each other that any instability in Nepal can affect these countries which are on these treaties with Nepal as a sort of headquarter. I am that not only the prevailing fluid situation in Nepal is very, very dangerous, or has to be viewed, if not dangerous, has to be viewed with a lot of concern by India. At the same time, certain regional alignments also will get affected. Therefore, I feel the implications of unrest in Nepal have not only direct consequences and direct effect on India, but they have indirect also effect because of this regional treaties and regional alliances being affected. If you want to add something, kindly do add so that we can wind up, sir.
No, you've done. You've given a very good rundown from the ASEAN and BIMSTEC. We have to be. I think we have to build up bridges with Nepal once again. Hopefully, the next government which comes into being. The basic problem was with Nepal was the ideological, political ideology, which was more China-oriented. As far as the employment is concerned, since there was no employment in Nepal, the Nepalese have also gone to high intensity areas. When I'm aware of the fact that there's a friend of mine who was going to Kabul before when the problem in Afghanistan was on, and I told her, I said, you better be careful. She said, no, I'm very safe. We have Nepalese as a protection to us in Kabul. So you see, with lack of thing now, one can't rule out that some boys may go to high intensity areas where the wars are looking for jobs. So I think we have to build bridges with Nepal in the times to come, sir.
Thank you very much, Deepak. We had a very sort of meaningful discussions and a dialogue. I hope it will be viewed extensively by our viewers, this dialogue. And we look forward to our next podcast shortly. And
Thank you, sir.
let the viewers be on the lookout for the next podcast from NISSMAT. Thank you very much, viewers, and thank you very much, Janasa.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure being with you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.